First, master getting up on time. Do that for a week. Then let's add in. You need to learn how to do what's best for you. What you need to do in order to fight overwhelm is you've got to actually do a brain dump.
Wanna soar? Get a mentor. What's up, Believe Nation? It's Evan. I believe in you, and this channel is designed to be a part of your daily success routine. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and some of her life-changing advice. Mentor me, Mel. Also, if you want to know what Mel and other successful entrepreneurs have to say about building unstoppable confidence, check out my 254 Confidence series, where every day for the next 254 days, I will send you a morning video for free to help you build your confidence. The link to join is in the description below.
I know that everybody's problem comes down to one pattern you're repeating that you can't see. When you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. If you didn't give a shit what anybody else thought, what's the thing you would love to be doing with your life?
Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, win the morning.
So here's what you're going to do. It's actually simple, but it's not going to be easy because you're going to create all kinds of excuses and drama for yourself, okay? You're going to set your alarm for 7. And when the alarm goes off, that's what happened. That gap is going to open up and you're going to feel all the roll in. I don't feel like it. I'm over. I don't want to. I don't feel like writing a song anyway. You know, like that's when you have to take control. You have to take control. You have to get up every morning. It begins by getting up, because if you let anxiety, excuses, self-doubt, all the win in that first decision, the rest of the day is hijacked. So win the first decision. Then exercise. I don't care about the eating as much. I know it's important not to put garbage in, but I would rather see you first master getting up on time. Do that for a week. Then let's add in exercise every day. 10 minutes. Don't start with like 2 hours, because then you're going to find an excuse not to do it. Get up at 7, exercise for 10 minutes. Then the third week, you're going to add in like, I'm actually going to eat clean this week, or whatever the diet is that you want to eat, right? You're just going to add in things as you master the little things, but you got to get up on time. It starts right there.
Rule number 2, try.
If you had to pick one word that was you, one word that represented your essence, and so let me explain what I mean by essence. Have you ever been around a dog that gets wet and they shake and then there gets all over you? That to me is the definition of essence. So you walk into a room, what is it that shakes off onto other people? What's the word right here?
Excited.
Excited. Anyone else?
Determined.
Determined.
Love.
Kind.
Love.
Energy.
Love.
Back in the back. Just shout it up. Thoughtful.
Love.
Love. Sexy. Awesome. So it was interesting because the word that fell out, because I immediately thought, oh, I wonder if mine is confidence. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Actually, no, it's try. All I want you to ever do is try. That's it. I just want you to try. In those moments where you hear yourself, I want you to try. In those moments where you know that it's time to speak up, I want you to try. That's all that I ever ask of you, because if you simply do that, and I say simply as if it's so easy, right? You will literally unlock the potential of your life.
Rule number 3, make the best decisions.
If your friend is facing a problem, when you have to make decisions on behalf of your friend, you tend to think from multiple perspectives, you think about multiple outcomes, and ultimately you make a much better decision. What they found in research, though, is if they put you in the exact same situation, facing the exact same thing that your friend is, you're not able to be so objective because you're emotional, and you don't make that great a decision. What's the conclusion? Well, when you make decisions for other people, you're great. When we make decisions for ourselves, decisions that can be emotional, we're not so good at it. That's where the power of objectivity comes in. It's the ability to make a decision from a third party's perspective. Let me explain. So if you're facing a really important decision and you can feel yourself getting emotional, maybe you're thinking about asking for a raise or changing your career or changing your major or ending a relationship or starting a relationship, whatever it may be. If it's something that is emotional for you, you're going to have a hard time thinking about all the options, and you're going to be really attached emotionally because maybe you're concerned about the people who may be impacted by your decision. Maybe you're managing that somebody's going to be disappointed or hurt by what you need to do for you. This is when the power of objectivity is really important. Pick somebody that you really admire. I mean, it could be somebody like a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson or an Oprah Winfrey, or maybe you have a mentor. And stop yourself and ask, what would Oprah do in this situation? What would Richard Branson do in this situation? What would your mentor do in this situation? Bringing that level of third-party objectivity will yank you out of your body and your emotions, and it will help you give yourself the perspective that you need and the distance from your emotions so that you can actually assess your options and make the best decision for you. What would Mel do if Mel were making the decision, the best decision? You know, there's a really interesting example of somebody who did this in sports, and at the time, he actually got a lot of flack for it. It was LeBron James. Now, LeBron James, as you know, played for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a really, really long time, and he's arguably one of the best basketball players to ever hit the NBA. So he made this announcement that he was going to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he had been playing forever, had rabid fans, and he was going to leave them and go to Miami.
Miami Heat. That was the conclusion you woke up with this morning.
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
He was giving an interview to ESPN, and what he said was this. He said, LeBron James needs to do what's best for LeBron James. Now, people kind of laughed at him because it's a funny way to say the sentence, but this guy's really smart. He was leveraging the power of objectivity. Mel Robbins needs to learn how to do what's best for Mel Robbins, and you need to learn how to do what's best for you.
Rule number 4, control how you live.
You know, I'm always looking for new ways to explain the power of the 5-second rule and the power of 5-second decisions. And I read something that Tim Ferriss said that really resonated with me. And he had this one line buried in a podcast somewhere that just jumped out, and it's stuck. And what he said is, he said something about how there's a gap between the world and the things that trigger you and your response. And your entire life is that gap. When you start to, this is not what he said, I kind of identified this gap, and I, of course, intrinsically was like, well, absolutely, that's the 5-second window between instinct or stimulus and your reaction. And when you start to understand that your whole life plays out in this 5-second gap, and that there's a gap that's 5 seconds long between fear and courage, and there's a gap that's 5 seconds long between self-doubt and confidence. That is your life. And what's super cool about understanding that your whole life is inside this gap is it's so small, everybody, that you have the ability to control it. Life's always gonna throw triggers at you, and there will always be all kinds of cool things that inspire you, your wisdom, and you get to choose what happens in that gap. Do you succumb to an excuse, or do you push yourself forward? When you start to speak up in business, you'll be shocked at how you start to speak up in your relationships. When you start to make hard phone calls, whether it's in a selling situation, you'll be surprised at how you'll start to close the gap and have hard conversations in your personal life. And so that gap is everywhere, and it's the same everywhere. And when you start to go to work in controlling how you live in that gap between stimulus or idea and your response, that's where the magic is.
And rule number 5, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is use a brain dump.
So let's pretend that this right here, this empty mason jar, is your brain. In order to do your best thinking, you need to make sure that you've got the full capacity of your brain leveraged and pointed at the things that are important to you. Here's the problem. When you go through life, as you go through life, what happens is, your brain starts to fill up with information, and that's what creates a state of feeling overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is nothing more than having a full brain. So as you go through your day-to-day life and you start checking email and looking at texts and looking at Facebook and sitting in meetings and flipping through television channels and sending emails and writing Excel spreadsheets and running and picking up the kids at work and getting another text and looking at Instagram and looking at Twitter and checking out the news, your brain gets pretty full, doesn't it? And so when you feel overwhelmed, what I know about you is that your brain is full of a bunch of garbage. And so, I didn't think about the drain draining. I hope that's not bothering you, but it's certainly going to bother me. What you need to do in order to fight overwhelm is you've got to actually do a brain dump. You got to get rid of all that stuff so that you've got an empty brain so you can focus again. So how do you do that? It's easy to do with a cup of water because you just pour it out. This is what you're going to do. You are literally going to dump out everything that's in your head onto this piece of paper. Every concern, every worry, every to-do, everything that's bothering you, that you're thinking about, you're going to write down. All right, and when you're done writing down everything that's in your head and there's absolutely nothing left, got something due tomorrow that I kind of forgot about. Once you get that stuff all down on a piece of paper, pull out a highlighter. Take a look. You could do everything on this list. You could. But what should you do? What are 3 things, just 3, that you should do in order to advance the things that matter to you? Let's see. I got to do that one. I got to do that one. And I got to do that one. The rest of this list is complete and utter garbage. It's other people's stuff. It's the email stuff. It's the meeting stuff. It's the stuff that's not all that important to me. It's not that mission critical. So by dumping everything out, I now not only have the 3 things I need to do, I've got a clear head so I can get it done.
Now I've got a special bonus clip with Mel on how to use the progress principle that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Time to move from just watching another video to actually taking action in your business or your life. And if you're feeling bold, leave your answers in the comments below. Here we go. Question number 1. How will you start to win the morning? Number 2. What are you going to just try today? And number 3. What important decision will you make this week?
My life changed a couple years ago when I discovered something called the progress principle. It is a principle that was written about in the Harvard Business Review. It's based on a tremendous amount of research done by a professor over there. And what she determined is that people that feel happy and successful and fulfilled by their lives and work, they all have one thing in common. They feel as though they're making progress on something that matters. So I read this little bit of research and I started applying it to my life. And what I do, as stupid as this sounds, it really works. I don't focus on balancing everything. I focus on just making sure that I make progress on one thing a day. That's right, you heard me. One thing a day that matters to me. Now, if I can make progress on one thing a day that matters to me, then I can let go and let the rest of my day get hijacked by kids, by spouse, by phone calls, by emails, by social media, by all kinds of things that come up and tend to hijack your day when you're a busy person, when you have a family, when you're married, when you got a lot going on. And so by focusing on one thing a day, I feel the sense of control and the sense of progress that science tells us will make you happy and make you feel more confident and actually make you more effective at getting things done. It also frees me up to be more present with my kids.
So let me give you the one-word secret to happiness. One word. This is all you need to be happy.
The most important word ever.
If you had to think of one word that's most important to you or that sums you up or that would be kind of like a little beacon.
If you want more Mel Robbins, check out the top 50 rules video I did on her. The link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you.